Welcome back to the special program of Dunya today. I'm joined here by US Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff, Admiral Mike Moulin, and Ambassador to Pakistan, Ann Peterson. And we are discussing President Obama's new strategic plan for Afghanistan and Pakistan and its effects and implications for Pakistan.
Okay, let's move ahead. You know, one of the biggest concerns is that when General Petraeus was in Manama Security Conference, even before I think in the testimonies, is a thing which we have been hearing and reading is that the American side now wants Pakistan military to expand the operations against in the Pakistani tribal areas and to take on the Afghan Taliban groups. And one specific name was the Sirajuddin Haqqani network. Now the concern is that, are you then, do you understand the implications in terms of overstretch of the Pakistani military?
It's something that I've understood from my engagement with General Kiani for the last year and a half. What he's being tasked to do by his civilian leadership, his focus clearly. There are troops that he has on the Kashmir border, and I understand that. When I was here earlier this year, I looked at the counterinsurgency training that was going on, that he was in fact putting in place, the shifting to the west to address this threat, the systematic way that he has gone through this, and we've talked about his deployment cycle, his rotation cycle, and so I've understood that throughout. And if he's done many things well, one of the things he's really done well is carefully measured the operational tempo of his people, and he's operating within that. So I do understand. I understand what the limits are, and it's something that we talk about all the time, and I talked about.
So have you then demanded of him to actually engage the Afghan Taliban groups? You know. Has he agreed?
I haven't ever demanded anything of General Kiani. My relationship with him is one of discussion. We have a mutual threat, mutual interest. These violent extremists that have killed many Pakistani citizens, the Al-Qaeda leadership that resides in the Fatah, and there are mutual and overlapping interests here, and that's how I've approached this with him and he with me for some time. And the reason I come back is to, quite frankly, get an update.
Is there any agreement on behalf of the Pakistani military during your visit?
Any what?
Any agreement? Will Pakistani military now be engaging the Afghan Taliban groups like Sirajuddin Haqqani network?
I mean, the Pakistani military is just finishing an operation, obviously, in South Waziristan, and there were many skeptics that 1 year ago would have said Pakistani military will never go into South Waziristan. There is clearly, I've shared the concern about the Haqqani network with General Kiani. He's aware of that. It's been shared at many levels. And it's important in the long run, quite frankly, that we continue to press against these extremists. There are also, I think, some near-term challenges that we work hard to try to get at. I need to understand what his approach is, and he certainly understands what my approach is.
If we add this question becomes important because if we add the accessory troops, the extra troops, the support troops, something anywhere between 110 to 150,000 Pakistani troops are engaged in tribal areas in Swat in the holding phase, after the clearing phase. And what the military experts fear is that if the United States insisted on engaging the Afghan Taliban, the additional groups, then not only the Pakistan Army's holding phase of counter-terrorism in South Waziristan and other areas is affected, but also the Pakistani Army has the responsibility of protecting the ISAF and NATO supply line. And we understand that anywhere from at least 70 to 75% of the NATO ISAF supplies are passing through Pakistan. Are you concerned in that?
Certainly, that supply line is one that we've focused on over the total time of this campaign, and that will continue. In fact, General Kiani and I talked about this very early this year because of the additional troops that we were going to add and that subsequently have added in Helmand, in southern Afghanistan. And we talked about security for the supply line. We talked about the possibilities of insurgents coming across the border, being pushed back across the border to Pakistan. And it hasn't happened in large numbers. And the point is that we did talk about this in advance. We've planned for anything like that in terms of possibilities. And in fact, that continues. It's a discussion that General Kiani has had with General McChrystal and other leaders have had recognizing this possibility. And the last thing we want to do in this strategy is is destabilize Pakistan. In fact, the entire approach here is to make sure that we can create stability in Afghanistan and stability and support a stable Pakistan as well.
When you say the last thing you want to do is to destabilize Pakistan,
right.
we continually hear, also from the embassy and all from the visiting U.S. decision makers, that Pakistan needs to take action against a certain element defined as Quetta Shura. What is that?
It's probably more than anything else. I think it represents. It goes back to your question before about those entities, those terrorist organizations, who are focused on Afghanistan and who are in fact killing Afghans and killing American and coalition forces. And it comes back to what I said before. There's a very clear understanding of this requirement, if you will, and there are many ways. There are many ways to get there, first of all. Secondly, both General Kiani and I recognize the challenges that we both have, and we also agree that we need to get there together. And together, we can address the totality of this threat, the Pakistani Taliban, the Afghan Taliban as well, and that's part of why I come and why he also meets with other senior leaders focusing on the same thing.
I love your term, we need to get together. Ambassador Peterson, if we need to get together, why are we hearing continuously of the possibility of expanding drone attacks in Balochistan and Quetta? Why cannot FBI, FIA, and ISI can join hands, just like after 9/11, in conducting specific actionable intelligence raids to arrest or eliminate the people rather than the drone attacks?
They do join hands. They have an extraordinarily high degree of cooperation among our intelligence agencies and among our militaries. And obviously this is not the place to go into the details of that, but they work together on a very consistent basis and have for many, many years. So there are a lot of successes against these various groups of insurgents that are not in the public domain.
But why do we hear continuously of the drone attacks possibility?
Well, it's hard for me to say why people hear about that, because there's a lot of hype in the media that sometimes gets carried away, but it's really not an issue. And again, we can't discuss drone attacks, and we're not going to discuss drone attacks, but just to go back to the point of there's a very robust cooperation in intelligence and law enforcement and with our militaries across all these areas.
But the sources I speak to regarding the Quetta Shura and other areas, they say that whenever the Americans have provided information that was dated, that was old, 15 days old information, so when they take action on that information, the targets have already left. The information is really old, and the US side is unable to provide real-time actionable intelligence.
Actually, I've seen real-time actionable intelligence provided routinely. When I come back to Pakistan, I haven't been here since July. I come back this time, and I look at the change which has occurred in the security environment since July of this year, and it's pretty extraordinary. That hasn't happened just without an awful lot of collaboration and sharing of information. And there's been a lot achieved, but there still is much work that needs to be done. And I think that's the focus that I have, and that's the focus that General Kiani and others have.
But if you provide the real-time actionable intelligence, do you think the Pakistani side fails to take action? Is there leakage or something?
I can count time and time again where that kind of intelligence sharing is incredibly effective.
And results in joint operations.
Ambassador Peterson, that's interesting. Well, let me take a break, and let me come back to you after the break.